Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Creature Caravan, which is I don't know why I always feel like I need to touch the box, which is the newest game by Red Raven Games, or Ryan Lockett, in his Arzium world? Is that right? I feel like I'm just making that up. Creature Caravan is a dice worker placement, I guess, kind of, tableau building game, and it's actually interesting because if anyone is familiar with the channel, you would know I'm a huge fan of Ryan Lockett games, specifically his storytelling games, things like Sleeping Gods, Above and Below, Near and Far, and what's fascinating is a lot of his other games that aren't story-driven are not necessarily my favorite. Like, I'm not a huge Empires of the Void or Islebound or City of Iron. Like, none of those games really do it for me. So I was kind of skeptical whenever I got this one because it's, essentially a tableau game. And after playing it, I'm actually kind of conflicted because I do think the game is good, but there's assets about it that I kind of have an overall problem with. So, like, the structure of the game, I think, is extremely solid. Like, you have 5 dice, you roll them, you use the dice to do various actions such as move across the board and activate card abilities, get cards, get food or bags or whatever it might be. Basically resources you need to play cards. But where the card play is actually very fascinating because almost every single card is unique, if not every single card, although I don't think so. I think there are some duplicates. For the most part, like, there's a ton of cards in the game that are unique, and there's a lot of combos and strategies and builds you can go towards. Your game is solely solo. Like, everything you do, like, even the rules are like, everything is done simultaneously, which in a competitive game, especially about dice and stuff, it's like your turns and everything you're doing on your own just kind of feels like, well, why do I even have another player? Like, basically nothing, like, interacts with other people. Like, even whenever you're setting up the game, you shuffle the deck and you distribute it out so it's easy reach for other people because the game is entirely random on the cards that you're getting. So it's like, okay, well, nothing really interacts with other players. Like, none of the card abilities interact with other players. The only thing that does is actually, like, the trade board and the Ember board, which is like your combat and your market. So it's like, if someone kind of goes for a trade of 3 coins before you do, even though you have a couple rounds to try and do that, like, that's the only, it's like, oh, they locked me out of 3 coins, now I need 4 coins. Okay, that's pretty much it. But other than that, you're basically, on your turn, taking your 5 dice, rolling them, and, 666, Satan. And you do your own actions. Okay, I'm going to use this 6 to get 2 bread. I'm going to use this 6 and this 6 to do an attack, because I'm on a spot where I can attack for 12. Okay, well, there's the 12 value. That's going to get me 6 points at the end. And I'm going to use this 2 to do a trade in the 2 food that, well, you don't trade in food, but trade in the 2 coins that I have to put up on that market area to get more food. And then I have a bunch of cards in my hand. I'm going to spend all that food that I just got to play into my tableau. Like, there's a lot that you're doing on your turn, and the game is extremely quick. Like, it's like, okay, I'm done using all of my dice. Everyone else is done. Place a camp on the spot. Depending on where you're at on the board, where you're camping might actually matter. Some caravan cards, actually, it's like, hey, if you camped on a cloud space, get a bag, or get a fruit, or get something. But that's pretty much it. So, I definitely see why this game was made, because especially after Sleeping Gods and then basically Sleeping Gods again, that's a lot of work, a lot of storytelling you have to do that I'm sure he wanted to be like, I just want to make something light. And I think this game is light, which is why the hiccups that I have with it really aren't that big of a deal. Like, but if you're looking for a game that is interactive, like where you're doing stuff against other players or you're competing for other stuff, this game is certainly not that at all. The other thing is that I feel like this game can kind of swing in players' favors because of just the way the cards come out. Like, yes, it's very easy to draw cards and try and get something you're going for. Like, oh, hey, this folk is 2 points if I have the Aged Mystic. Where is that? Oh, it wasn't in my deck of cards. I guess that's not getting me 2 points. This one is 10 points if I have 4 Nocturnal. Okay, well, I don't have any Nocturnal, and I'm not drawing any Nocturnal. So I feel like your game and your score is completely random. Like, the only thing you kind of have some control over is moving, but it actually takes some, like this last game I played, I got a bunch of cards that gave me high movement, like this War Machine for a 6 and a bag allowed me to move 2 on any terrain, and a 3rd on any terrain if I had 2, I think, flying or something. So it's like, that card alone, one, I needed to roll a 6 and have a bag, but it's like, oh, well, earlier I had a card that allowed me to put a 3 on it to get 2 bags. So I had a bag engine, so now I just needed to roll a 6. Oh wait, I got a fruit, so now you can put a fruit on something to make its value lower. So now I need a 5 or a 6 to be able to move 3 spaces. Which is huge because whenever you make it all the way to Eastrey, I think is what it's called, that nets you 25 points. Actually 30 points. You get 5 points just for camping there. 25 points if you made it. So that's 30 points at the end of the game. And it took me that card and a bunch of other cards to make it all the way there. And that's the only thing you have control over. If you don't have a lot of cards that give you extra movement on your turn, like, that'd be your entire goal. Because you have 2 innate ways to move, but it costs 2 dice to move on any terrain type, and a 3 or higher to be able to move on planes. So it's like, you're only moving 2 spaces a turn, and it costs 25 movement points to get there. Like, you're not going to make it. In fact, that would only net you, because you have 12 camps and that's when the game ends. If you only move twice, I believe you would stop just shy of being able to do that. So you have to draw into things that give you extra movement, and that's just for 30 points. So it's like, okay, if all my cards in my hand aren't really synergizing with each other, then I'm kind of screwed. Like, yeah, I can play cards in my tableau for its ability, but you want points at the end of the game as well. And it's like, okay, because you can only have 12 in your Caravan or in your tableau, and you can't remove anything unless something gives you that ability to do so. So, here, basically, bottom line, I do really like the card play. I think that the combos you can get, the builds you can go for, every time I've played this game, I've gotten a different synergy. There's a ton of variety with these cards. But you have to go into this game knowing that it's going to be a lighter experience, knowing that I don't give a shit what my opponents are doing. Here's just what I'm trying to do with the cards that I have. Like, yeah, there's enough variety that chances are if you're looking for a Nocturnal or something, you have ways to do a bunch of drawing. Like, if you camp on a white tower space, I'll let you draw 3 cards. Some abilities give you ways to draw more. So you want to be drawing as much as possible. But you also have to be able to play them, and that costs a lot of food. Very few things are cheap on food. But because there's no hand limit, if you have a draw engine and you have like this many cards in your hand for free and as many times as you want, you can start you can be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How much do I need to play this? Oh, this is 12 food. Okay, well, I don't have any food. I'm gonna discard 12 cards to get my 12 food, and I have 2 bags, so I can play my Toadfolk Engineer. Because for free you can just discard a card for a food, or you can discard 3 cards for a coin. But if you also happen to roll a 2 or higher, you can spend that and go trading. Like, every game I've played of this, the person who has kind of controlled or traded the most has generally done better than others because they're able to get the food that they need, get victory points at the end of the game, because it's like, oh man, I have a bag engine. Well, I'm going to trade in 6 bags, and that's 7 points at the end of the game, and I got 8 food in return. So, which allows me to play these higher value cards, which are typically worth more points, or if they're not worth more points, they have a better ability. So, you're kind of, I mean, I like the fact that there's only 2 resources that you use, food, well, 3, food, money, and bags. Keeps things simple, and there's still a lot of thought process you're going into, like when you're searching for certain cards that you need to try and get synergy, because last game I played, I had 2 cards that would be free to play if I had like a deadly, at 3 deadly, or 2 deadly and 2 flying, so I had to find something that was flying so I could play the one that was free for flying because I had deadly, which means I could play another card for free now because I had 2 deadly. So combos like that. It's a good game, like, but I wouldn't go in thinking this is going to be, like, it's not Now or Never, because Now or Never has a lot of strategy behind it, and there's also no storytelling in this game. It's literally just a tableau game with amazing artwork. Like, I love Ryan Lockett's art, but it is pretty much just that. Combat is very simplistic. Like, it's kind of like that exponential combat that is in Near and Far, where it's like you just have to do better each time. But you can also only fight on certain spots. Like, there's certain locations that you go to that if you land on, you get an Ember zombie thing on your board, and if you happen to fight that turn, you can get rid of it. But if you don't fight that turn, then they just kind of build up. But they're only like -1 point, I think. One thing that I do enjoy is the game has, I think it's an expansion or it's in the game, are items. And items are, they kind of like buff certain cards in your tableau if that card you're putting it on has that keyword. But that can be really cool because it's like, hey, every time you put a die on this, you gain a coin. Like, oh, like this one is Ancient Miner Robot. You put a 3 on it, you get a coin. If you have 4 or more Delvers in your tableau, you get another coin. And then there's a Giant Mushroom. When a die is placed on this creature, gain a coin. So you could just easily, for 1 die, get 3 coins out of that, which is huge because either some coins or some cards need coins, or you can get a lot of points if you just start saving up and be like, hey, now I have 8 coins. I'm going to turn those in, get 10 food, as well as 14 points at the end of the game. And that's just a strategy you can go for. So, like I said, I do like this game, but I feel like if someone was to go into this game expecting heavy strategy, you're not going to get that just from the sheer randomness of cards. If you're really trying to get a certain card out and you're having trouble even getting food and it costs a lot of food, and it's like, okay, well, this will be worth 15 points at the end of the game if I can get it, but I need 4 folk cards in my tableau. Well, not only do you need to find the folk cards, you also need to be able to pay for them to put them in your tableau, and almost nothing gives you anything for free. Like, it all costs extra stuff. On top of that, you're also trying to move, land on a spot, which, I mean, there's treasure tokens, which are all worth a point, and it could give you a coin or a fruit. I think some of these are worth, so some of these are worth 2 points. I've had games where, you know, you get an extra point, or that card is worth a point for every treasure chest you've had. Like, last game I played was one of the first cards I got out was every time I grabbed a chest, I got a bag, and it's like, okay, cool. And I also happen to have the one that was like, hey, for a bag and a 6, you get to move. And it's like, okay, well, I'll try to make it to Eastrey this game. And so I kind of had a bag engine, which is neat. Like, this game is really... It's really simple, which is nice. Like, it feels like you're not going through the motions of just like, whatever, this is easy. Like, you're thinking and you're doing stuff. It's light, but still combo-tastic, which can be fun. And it is a nice, you know, breath of fresh air that I'm sure they were wanting to do after, you know, Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. or an interim to maybe their next bigger project, which I have no idea what they're doing. But I like this. I like this type of game more so than like Nightfall that they did, which I know wasn't designed by Ryan. It was Red Raven. I like this more than Islebound. I like it more than City of Iron. But granted, it's been years since I've even played those. But this one was just a nice kind of gateway style tableau building game. Like this one, I feel like you could teach to, like people that aren't really in the hobby all that well, and kind of get them into a lot of different types of genres of tableau, of dice placement, of resource management. And they're going to be able to dive into it a little bit deeper than some of the gateway games. Like, it might be a little bit much, but like, because everything's so random, it doesn't feel so strategic that they don't have to feel like they're beating themselves up for not doing well. It's like, oh, okay, and then, they play again, and then they have a different set of cards, and then they kind of can they can start thinking a little bit more differently each time you play. And on top of that, like, the board isn't the same, so they each there's 4 of them. They're double-sided, and it's completely random on which side you place them on, which doesn't really change all that much. It's not like, oh, this is the board layout, now I'm going to try this. It's more of just kind of the path you decide to take. Granted, I haven't really felt the need to deviate all that much. It's more of like, okay, like really you start with 8 cards, you look through your 8 cards, and you're like, okay, oh hey, whenever I gain a chest, I gain a bag. Oh, and this lets me move on mountains and plains easier. All right, well, I'll try the path that has the most mountains and plains and maybe deviate a little bit to get a chest if you want to try and get this card out first. Because your goal should really be Eastrey, because I feel like if one person gets there and they're the only person that gets there just for making it is 30 points. And there are cards that give you more points. Like I had a card last game that was like 5 points if you reached Eastrey. Cool. 35 points just for making it. So, again, the board state isn't going to change all that much, but you might start and go a different route depending on the cards that you're drawing and things like that. But at the end of the day, game lasts 60 minutes, if that. And because of the solo nature, like, again, if you're wondering, well, what negatives do you have? The cards are completely random, which could just be fun if you're going in and being like, okay, I got this card. Now let me try and use this, versus figuring out a strategy from the get-go. And also the fact that it's so solitaire. Like, it's multiplayer solitaire, more so than I've seen in a while. Like, because of the sheer nature of being like, oh, like, if it was first come, first serve on the Ember Knight or the Ember Zombies and the market board, that'd be a little bit more kind of racy. But the fact that is, like, I can trade a coin to get some food, and you have a couple rounds before that's locked out, it's like, okay, it's not that much of a race. And every time I've played, I haven't really been like, oh, they locked me out of that sucks. Because it's not like it jumps that much. It's like, oh, this was 4 coins, the next step is 5 coins. Well, I'll just draw a bunch of cards, discard 3 of them, and get a coin, so now I can trade. And that's pretty much it. So honestly, I think this game is way better like as a 2-player game. Just because it's one other person instead of, 4. Because you don't even lock people out on the board. It's not like, oh, like, they camped there before I did, so I can't even go there. There's not even that. So it's not like having 4 people in the game is really going to drastically change it, except the cards that you're drawing, which makes it even less likely that you're going to draw, like, a keyword that you need. So I've enjoyed this really well as a 2-player game. And it just goes by that much quicker. Granted, even though it's solitaire, a max player count of this game, like, I guess people might have analysis paralysis, which would slow it down, and I've also noticed that, like, if you roll badly, so this game obviously does better if you roll high, but I've had turns where it's like I roll, and I'm like, cool, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1, and that sucks. So if you don't have any cards that give you ways to mitigate your dice and you're at the whim of what you roll, it's like, well, I needed 4s or 5s to get food or items I need to trade for food to play with my cards, and I didn't get that, so I guess this is just a draw cards turn, and that's it. Because sometimes Like, at the very least, you're never locked out of moving, which is nice. But it's like, okay, well, I guess all I'm using this turn are my two ones and drawing some cards. I'm moving once and drawing a few cards. That's it. So you really want to roll high or hopefully draw cards that give you some mitigation. But yeah, don't go into this game thinking it's going to be the heaviest tableau builder you've ever had. This isn't like Everdell, but Ryan Lockett's world. It's because Everdell is, I think, way more strategic. But it's a light, fun kind of combo tableau building game with beautiful artwork, and it's short. So there's a lot going for this game, more so than what I initially thought. But that's pretty much it. Like, I don't really have, I don't think the card abilities are, broken or busted. Like, it's not like, oh, man, you got that card, I guess you win. It's not really that. From what I've told, but I mean, I haven't, played every single card because there's a lot of them, which is very neat. So, yeah, that is my thoughts on Creature Caravan. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm going to give this game an 8. I know I haven't been, raving about it, but, I've had a good time every time I've played it. I'm not sitting here thinking it's mind-blowing. I'm not like, this Sleeping Gods is shit compared to Creature Caravan. But every time I've played it, I've had a solid time. It's nice to take your dice, roll them, and be like, okay, well, because versus the randomness of games where it's I want to do this, now let's see if dice let me do it. I like rolling them and being like, okay, this is what I got. Now what can I do with the cards that are in my hand, the cards in my tableau? Let me try and figure that out, and then just kind of see what the deck gives me and what cool combos can I get out of the cards that I started with versus what I'm drawing. So it's been a nice, light game, easy to set up, easy to tear down, and easy to play. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. And that's it, everyone. That's my thoughts on Creature Caravan. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.